Scream, ghastly ghouls. It will scare you. Power of the indestructible man.
Hello, this is Suki Goodwin from Hell Night. You are listening to Hysteria Continues.
And welcome back to episode 336. And this time we're going back to LA in the early 1980s for the kind of sleazy police procedural slasher romantic interlude strange mashup that is Double Exposure from 1982. So this is my pick. I mean, say from the off, it's not necessarily a film that I'm hugely fond of, but it was interesting to revisit it, especially as I finally saw it as it was kind of meant to be seen on a really stellar release. I think it was Vinegar Syndrome put it out. So it's going to be an interesting one to talk about. We haven't been back to the early 80s for a little while, so let's go back to the time of boob tubes and discos. So well, let's see. Have you got your boob tube on, Eric?
No, I do have my Exorcist t-shirt on, though.
Oh, well, it's almost as good as a boob tube.
Yes. Just in this film, it's all about photography, and you like photography as well. So you're happiest when you're in a dark room, are you?
No, but I do take lots of photos, but mostly of dogs and cats. But thankfully, I don't dream about murdering them, because obviously that would be very strange, and I would be kicked out of the sanctuary I volunteer at. So
yeah, you certainly would.
I would be. So, and Nathan, Double Exposure, is it one that you've seen recently? Obviously, you've rewatched it for the show this time.
No, and honestly, I can't remember if I've seen this before. This could have potentially been a first-time watch for me.
Okay.
It's a rarity.
So, and Joseph, what about you? Is this the film that's been on your radar? I say it's not. We're kind of struggling to find, in some ways, kind of early 80s slashers that we've not seen.
Yeah, I could have sworn I'd seen this, but I didn't remember it. So I think this is my first time seeing it.
We talked about that before. I'm just sorry. I'm just bringing it. I forgot to get the synopsis of it, so I'm just dragging that up on the ever reliable IMDb. But we talked about that before, haven't we? Sort of saying about how we kind of, after so many years of watching movies, we just presume we've seen movies, but actually, when we sit down and watch them, we realise it's only because we've seen clips from them, or got that strange kind of thing where we've got a sort of memory of watching something we haven't seen. But yeah, we're still switching things up a little bit here at the Hysteria Continues. So we are going to do recently seen, but what we're going to do is we're going to push it to the end of the show. So we're going straight into the main feature.
Well, before we do that, I just want to make a mention real quick that our email address is thehysteriacontinues@gmail.com. Please drop us a line. Join us on Patreon if you want to help support the show, and listen. If you're listening on YouTube or watching, please, it only takes a few seconds, hit the like button.
Indeed, please do. So we will be, we've probably got a trailer or a TV spot here. So after that, I will come in with, we'll talk all about Double Exposure from 1982.
Double Exposure, a classic portrait in terror.
A photographer plagued by horrific nightmares in which he kills the young female models he shoots is shocked to discover that there is a serial killer in his city who is targeting attractive, and I didn't press the attractive women after all of that. And the synopsis had read more, and the one word was women. So that was the synopsis of IMDb. Now,
professional as always.
As professional as always. That's what people expect from us, Eric, on Hysteria Continues. My kind of history with double exposure is I used to have the old VHS tape, so I have some history. I remember this movie, and now I say it's not necessarily a favourite of mine, but I think it's an important film, but certainly is it's an early 80s slash movie. It was made in 1981, but it's got this kind of. And the other thing I only realised recently, this is a kind of prequel to the same director as film The Photographer from 1974.
It's kind of a loose remake, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, so I did actually watch that, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. But and also it's the same director, and also stars David McCallum. So that's going to be interesting to talk about. But with this, for me, my kind of a view of this film. I mean, it's actually incredibly well made, but it seems like a little bit of a Frankenstein's monster of movies. You have this mixture of this kind of starts as police procedural thing of this this undercover cop dressed as a woman, and there's a serial killer plaguing Los Angeles, and he is trying to basically, presumably, entrap the killer. And there's two cops sitting in a car nearby, and the killer comes out of the shadows and stabs him in the neck with an ice pick, killing him outright. And then you have David McCallum. One of the things I thought was interesting, because obviously we're going to spoil the movie, obviously, as we always do. But the beginning of the movie is that it has David McCallum's character. The whole thing, I kind of think, actually, am I watching a funny copy? Is something gone wrong with my TV? But it has this kind of visual distortion where you see him running through the LA hills towards his caravan, his mobile home, and the picture is just kind of going. It's kind of doing that. How you describe it, but it's kind of that kind of digital drag or whatever afterwards of kind of like
it's like it's fading into itself.
I would call it an Earth, Wind and Fire video effect. Apparently it's called homerizing.
Homerizing, well,
according to the audio commentary on the disc.
Ah, okay, yes. Well, that's well, good to know. So after all this time, but I thought that was kind of neat visual kind of suggestion that was something's not all right in the mind of Adrian, the character. And Adrian is this photographer who takes photos of beautiful women, but also wakes up from nightmares. He's killed them, and the thing with this is he wakes up and the models are actually dead in the method that he dreamed. And so he also has his brother who's kind of who's missing an arm and a leg, whose character we'll talk about a little bit later. Given that it's early 80s movie, he falls in love, or he kind of, I mean, it couldn't be more early 80s if you kind of asked really. It's a scene you wouldn't really see today where he kind of hassles the character Joanna Pettet plays in an underground car park and basically stalks her for 2 minutes until he bullies her into going on a date, and then she falls madly in love with him. And given that I think he's also the producer, he ends up basically he's catnip to every woman in this movie. So all these women are falling over themselves for this slightly out of shape over 40-something man.
Hey,
I'm not talking about you, Eric.
No, but you're insinuating that out of shape 40-something-year-old men are unattractive, and I'm here to say they're not.
And you're also 50-something.
No, but I'm not talking about myself. I'm just talking about in general. There's nothing
but I think it's
unattractive about being out of shape.
It smacks very much of kind of a vanity play, doesn't it, really, to have like a character where all the women just think he's insanely attractive and fall into bed with him and come around knocking on his trailer door going, please fuck me, and all this. So it's kind of, and so that kind of, but he starts to lose his mind basically, and he starts to get convinced that maybe he is the killer, and so you have the police on his trail. And I do love the fact that they piece together it's a photographer with two clues. One of them, he's left a box of film on the Kodak box on the floor, which gives it away. And the other time, these kind of amazing police detectives see a tripod mark in the ground, which then they've pieced that together. That's how they piece together. It's supposed to be a photographer who's killing all these people. And so you've got this mixture of kind of, with double exposure, for me, the kind of strange thing is you've got this mixture of a movie that has so much going on in it, and it doesn't really excel in any of it, but it's still kind of an interesting movie for me, because you've got the slasher aspect, and you've got the killer at some points is killing with an ice pick, but then you've got the other scenes, which is a model killed with a bag over her head with a rattlesnake inside, which for me feels quite kind of icky, because it feels it kind of almost crosses that line into potentially kind of misogynistic kind of angle with this. And you have other murders which are kind of very exaggerated and very strange for a slasher movie. But then you have this kind of bizarre romantic subplot between the character of Adrian and the character Joanna Pettet plays. And you even have a romantic interlude where they're running along the beach. And so you've got this romance going on. You've got this thriller aspect. And then you've got this kind of buddy cop thing between Adrian and his brother, where you've got this very naturalistic dialogue of them chatting between themselves, which feels very organic and believable, but some of it is so completely unbelievable. And you've got this kind of not high budget, but decent budget sheen running through it all. So I've got plenty more to say, but I'm kind of interested in what you guys think of it. So as it is a first time watch for you, Nathan, do you want to tell us what your thoughts are on Double Exposure?
I really liked Double Exposure. I mean, like you said, it doesn't necessarily excel in many ways. Like the slasher aspects of it, I think, are kind of underwhelming. Like the death scenes and everything are nothing to write home about. But I don't know, there's just something about it that kept me engaged enough. Like you said, I love the idea of it being a vanity kind of project. I mean, with all the women falling over him, it just totally made me think of Jim from Boarding House, with all the women who just think that he is God's gift. So that kind of stuff I think was pretty fun. I felt that the whodunit aspect also wasn't, it didn't really excel there either, unfortunately, because you know how bad I am at guessing who the killer is, and I completely guessed this one correctly, and I was kind of surprised by that. I thought the mud wrestling scenes were fun. When they're doing the mud wrestling and the brother gets in there to wrestle as well, and then loses. I thought that was kind of fun.
With Nancy, the naughty nurse.
Yes, the naughty nurse. Exactly. But that kind of stuff was fun. I love the atmosphere. I love the early 80s vibes. I think that even movies that in general may be a little underwhelming, it's just that time frame that I love. And so I'm very forgiving to movies that are made in the 80s, which probably very shocking to you guys that I'm that forgiving. But yeah, in general, I thought that Double Exposure was a lot of fun. And I realized what had happened is, for some reason, I got this movie mixed up with another movie called Dark Room, which I think is also like a
movie about Justin Kurzweil on holidays in Spain.
There you go.
Oh, Eric. I think that's the pot calling the kettle black.
I would never go into one of those dirty places.
But it's, it's not particularly fast paced, but again, I was just never bored during it. I thought that it was just a lot of fun to watch, and just silly when it needs to be. In general, I would probably give it a B. But yeah, I was kind of glad you picked it, because like I said, it was one of those ones that for some reason I thought I had seen, but I hadn't. So thumbs up.
Well, thank you, Nathan. And we spoil this, and we'll spoil the identity of the killer, because it deserves to be. Well, it's kind of, I'm interested when I come to you guys, Joseph and Eric, and obviously Nathan, is the twist here. I'll just put it out there: is the twist is the killer is Adrian's one-handed brother, who managed to strangle somebody with one hand. Which, so it was kind of. So anyway, we talk about the twist coming up. But Eric, you've seen this before, haven't you?
I have. Yes, I have the DVD here from 2012. One of Katrina's Nightmare Theatre, if you remember her. She was she was a wrestler, I think, she sounds like she's from New Zealand or Australia. Anyway, she is involved in the commentary tracks on this. And it actually says here, above the title, I don't know if you can see it there, it says that there's an actor in it called Seymour Castle. And I didn't see any castles in it.
Cassell.
If you want to see more castle, can I suggest Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Your joke doesn't work because that's
You're
not his
ruining my
last
joke.
name.
You're ruining my joke. You're ruining my hilarious jape. Yes, this is a film that it kind of plows the same furrow for me as something like Don't Answer the Phone and Don't Go in the House or Christmas Evil, in that, you know, it's kind of like a less graphic version maybe of Maniac. Except the difference here is that there is a bit of a whodunit going on, even though it's kind of saying that, as we've already spoiled it, so I can just go ahead and say, it's kind of saying Adrian is the killer all the way through. But then at the end it says, no, it's actually his brother who has one arm and one leg, who has somehow managed to throw a bag over some poor girl's head with a rattlesnake in it, even though he only has one arm, when surely a murder like that would require two arms for it to work effectively. But hey ho, these are the joys of the slasher movies. When it comes to this type of movie, I like them less than I do sort of mass killer, Friday the 13th, My Bloody Valentine type movies. I don't like not that I don't like them, I don't like them as much. This kind of psychological character study movies. In their defense, they're usually a bit meatier in the plot department, but they're kind of a bit leaner in the entertainment stakes for me. I did enjoy that highly stylized opening credit sequence, and I hadn't watched this in a long time, so when I put it on my Blu-ray player, I thought, again, like you were saying, Justin, I thought there might have been a flaw with the DVD. I thought, oh, DVDs are so crap. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't look like this on Blu-ray, but then I realized that there was actually some kind of funny effect put over the opening credits, and it was quite good. As I said, it kind of reminded me of an Earth, Wind and Fire or Jackson's video from the early 80s with those people leaving a trail behind them as they move. I thought that it was really inspired, whoever was casting this, you know, because Adrian and BJ are supposed to be brothers in this film, and they do look very alike, even though they're two completely different actors, not from the same family or anything. So kudos to the casting agent there.
I have to admit, like, I needed a hand to figure out who the difference between them. I couldn't get a leg up on it.
Oh, Joseph.
Leave the joke to the experts, Joseph.
I did.
Have we got one on later?
Yeah, I've got a brilliant one coming up. So the film has a schizophrenic feel, because at one time it's kind of trashy, and then, like, particularly the rattlesnake murder, as you said, Justin, is quite mean-spirited, because that poor character's only crime is being a bit ditzy. I think what's her name? Bambi or something is her name? I can't think of it. Yeah, she's a ditzy blonde model who's, I don't know what that photo shoot assignment is. Like, she has to pose pretending she's putting leaves into a black plastic bag, which that doesn't sound like it's for Cosmopolitan or Vogue to me.
She does. I don't think it's Bambi, because Bambi's the blonde one, isn't she? She's the one that's a topless on the bed.
Oh, is she not the same one who gets the bag put over her head?
No, she's one of the True Screw Supplies girls.
Okay. Of course. Well, the one who gets the bag put over her head, she's assigned to do a fashion shoot where she has to put some dead leaves from a tree into a black plastic bag, which is not high fashion, I don't think. And then, as you said, there's that real Mills and Boone-esque Day at the Beach thing where they're skipping along hand in hand on the beach and having tonsil tennis, and then they take a little break from that to talk to a naked toddler, which, probably not something you would see in today's movies. And then the mud wrestling scene, as Nathan was saying, BJ with his one arm and his one leg signs up to wrestle the naughty nurse. And I like the fact that it was all emceed by a man he had a tuxedo jacket on, but then he had just a pair of underpants on as well, which was very bizarre. So it was flirting between romance and sleaze and silliness, and it kind of gave it a unique flavour. I did find it maybe a bit slow to get going, but the more the film went on, the more I sort of got into it, and I did enjoy the reveal of who the killer was. I'm not sure I was looking at it as a whodunit when I was watching it. I just assumed it was Adrian maybe doing it all the time. I wasn't anticipating a twist, but I did enjoy it once it came, because when you look back at the murders, you're wondering, he only has one arm and one leg. How has he, as you said, strangled that woman, put the bag over her head? She could easily wriggle out of that, seeing as he only has one arm.
Speaking of that, I thought throughout the movie that maybe he was faking it. like maybe he had his real arm in his shirt.
Oh, yeah.
So he would have been faking it in front of his brother this whole time.
Oh, well, that'd be quite the long game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the long con right there.
Yeah, it would be the long game. And also he strangles the woman in the alley, doesn't he?
And snaps her neck with just one hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought the acting was pretty good. I mean, as I said, I take offense to Justin's comment about, nobody would be attracted to a 40-year-old middle-aged man who's not in shape.
I'm not saying nobody. I'm just saying that none of us are spring chickens, Eric.
Well,
I'm just saying
have you heard about a certain person called Bob Hoskins? Everyone loves him. The chicks throw themselves at him.
Oh, don't dig him up again.
Oh, Justin, honestly. So yeah, I mean, I think this film is on a par with something like Don't Answer the Phone, or that type of movie, which movies I like, but they're not sort of repeat viewing types of films. I mean, I liked the sillier aspects of this film, but I found it maybe perhaps a bit slow for sort of, it's not a party movie by any means. So, but I did enjoy it.
No, well, thank you. Incidentally, the Crown International, I think they were put out both films, Don't Answer the Phone and sort of Double Exposure. So they're kind of natural bedfellows in some ways, although apparently the director wasn't that happy about it. But Joseph, what did you think of Double Exposure?
I hated it.
Did you?
Yeah, I really hated it. I say that with a bit of sadness because the movie has that 1982 sort of neutral color aesthetic that I tend to like a lot in these movies, but I just found the movie itself incredibly boring on top of being really unpleasant and miserable. The lead character of Adrian, he's this middle-aged playboy type who's either leering after women 10 to 20 years his junior, or he's suffering from vivid dreams in which he is murdering these women. And any levity he affords himself or the audience is just a mask to conceal how internally broken he is as a human being. And I get it. Everyone can be miserable, but I don't find it entertaining from a cinematic standpoint, certainly not a slasher movie standpoint. And his foibles as this kind of deeply flawed character suffering these nightmares, it leads to countless shots of his character jolting from his sleep in a cold sweat, and I just grew tired of it. The women characters, they're not established much better. They exist as kind of objects of desire or to be killed with little to no personality afforded to each. I especially hated the investigation side plot, which is not unusual in these types of movies, but here the characters serve absolutely no purpose to the main plot except to get yelled at by their superiors for doing a piss poor job and to finally show up at the end after the main characters have already wrapped up the story. I mean, it's a complete waste of time. And what was Cleavon Little, of all people, doing here in such a nothing role? I mean, how did they get him involved in this? The only individual with a degree of sympathy in my mind was the character of BJ, the stuntman amputee brother of the Adrian character. And perhaps that sympathy is only afforded to him due to his condition, because he's also a miserable sad sack who turns out to be the one who done it. And I guess having a double amputee as the killer is a somewhat novel idea. Too bad it was included in a movie that felt novel length without anything interesting to say. There's no chase scenes. The individual character sequences that I often like more than the slasher hijinks. Like I said, they feel like false fronts to me. And I don't like to do this at all because I think each movie that we review should be discussed on its own merits. But two movies I would recommend that have kind of similar themes would be Deadly Games from 1982, same year actually. I think it covers that male bonding angle between the two brothers here a lot better with its two male leads, although I don't think they were brothers in that movie, but that's beside the point. And I also would recommend Too Scared to Scream, which I think does the whole inserting cops into a serial killer plot more organically. But yeah, I just found it utterly devoid of anything resembling entertainment value. I just found it ugly and unpleasant, and I highly recommend it.
So that's one for Paul quote for the next Blu-ray release.
The Maniac formula, you really have to hit a certain stride with that, and this movie just didn't do that for me at all. Sorry.
I think I kind of agree with you in many ways. I mean, it's not the movie that I kind of wanted in so much that it's not, the director says on the commentary that he was pushing against making a slasher movie. And I think he may have been better off making a slasher movie, more of a slasher movie. And he wanted to make a character study of a man's descent into madness, which is perfectly legitimate. There's so much going on in this. And I think, just talk very quickly about, I watched The Photographer, the 1974 movie from the same director, and Michael Callan, and the director said that this was a sequel prequel, and there's a little bit of a muddiness around it because he said that in various things, he sort of said that this is a prequel in so much that BJ is a killer in Double Exposure, and in at the end of this, that the character of Adrian is driven mad by finding out his brother is a killer and becomes the killer in The Photographer. So, but it's a little bit awkward because in The Photographer 1974, which is, I think, for this, paradoxically, for a thriller, the approach in that works better because it's more lighthearted. It's more of a black comedy, the 1974. Have any of you seen that movie, the 1974 one?
No, but I was listening to the commentary track on Double Exposure, and they say that there's one scene that in The Photographer that they've reused in Double Exposure, which is the one where...
They reshot it, or they actually used the footage?
No, they actually, well, they say in the commentary that they pulled it wholesale from the 70s movie, which is the one where he's looking into the mirror and he's screaming and shouting at himself.
Well, the other thing which is kind of strange in that movie, which he's kind of very much kind of post-psycho thing, he's driven mad. He's basically unhinged because his mother, played by the actress Barbara Nichols, sits at home and drinks orange-flavoured gin all day and all night, like someone we know. And so, but when he was younger, that she got drunk, she brought men home, and then one of them hit him, and therefore he hates his mother. So it's all about his relationship with his mother, kind of mommy issues, all that kind of stuff. But in the Double Exposure, he says that his mother's been dead for 6 years. So I'm not quite sure how they retrofit all of that. Having said that, it's probably the least of the film's worries when it comes to continuity and believability with the revelation of the BJ being the one-handed killer. Having said that, a couple of other things I want to pick up on. One of the things I did really like about it was that club scene where you've got the other early 80s thing of the Chippendale, topless Chippendale in the satin pants, all the boob tubes, all of that kind of stuff. It's very, well, all that kind of early 80s stuff. And it's just full of like these beautiful women being hit on by middle-aged men, and it just feels very much like a wish fulfillment for that. Me. For you.
Yeah.
What's you?
To go to a club and be hit on by loads of middle-aged men.
Well, yes, I thought you meant you being a sleazy middle-aged man hitting on young women.
Nothing sleazy
in
about
boob
me.
Tubes. No, well, of course. A couple of, it felt very much that kind of like kind of AIDS kind of type movie, in so much that it's very kind of, it was showing this kind of culture that was very promiscuous, and everyone's sleeping. Women just throwing themselves, literally banging on his trailer door to get into bed, and sort of Sorry, Joseph, you're gonna.
No, I was just gonna say it. There is one scene in this movie that I did like a lot, and I laughed out loud. Is when the gay character looks at the one guy and says, "Heterosexual."
That leads me on. What was your thoughts about the gay character? Because it was kind of, on one hand, it was kind of progressive, and on the other hand, it seemed very the opposite. So the language they were using, but the character, they seemed to be quite, especially Adrian seemed to be quite fond of the gay character, who was also a photographer, who kind of was part of their company. And it was BJ who was the one that was more antagonistic towards him and used slurs. But the gay character also kind of gave as good as he got.
Yeah, so now that I think about it, I actually like that character a lot. You know what? They should follow a character like that in these types of movies. I mean, they can't now, obviously, because it's 1982. But if someone were making a slasher movie like this today, follow a gay character like that. One of those kind of highly stereotypical but fun gay characters.
Well, the only movie I can think of from this time was American Nightmare, the Canadian slasher movie that had the drag queen. Was it a drag queen character in it who was a kind of semi-protagonist?
Wasn't the neighbor character in that movie was the gay guy? Like she'd go talk to him or something, and he ends up getting killed for no reason whatsoever, if I'm remembering correctly.
In American Nightmare?
American Nightmare.
Possibly. I mean, it's kind of like you see that happening in lots of films, like Single White Female. You just have the random gay character who's a confidant for the main character who just gets bumped off or not bumped off in that particular movie, but certainly attacked. But it was kind of it did feel, I mean, for me, it's a mess. It's an interesting mess. I don't hate it, but I find actually the approach of the photographer, the 1974 one, worked better. It had that very much that 70s kind of mid-70s kind of, like, again, films like The Roommates, Single Girls, that kind of feel to it, which still had that kind of slightly that sexist, misogynistic tone to it, but it was leavened by this humour. Whereas what didn't seem to work with this, it would have worked better, I think, if the killer had been going around killing everyone with a nice pick all the way through it, rather than these kind of bizarre scenes like with the killing of the woman with the bag over her head with a rattlesnake. That seemed to be, sort of being ridiculous or outrageous and exaggerated in the way of almost cartoonish, but didn't really mesh with the rest of the movie.
I was asking about Cleavon Little in this movie. The hooker who played the hooker in the alley, is that Sally Kirkland?
It is Sally Kirkland, yeah.
What the fuck is she doing in this movie? Because she's like an Oscar nominee.
Yeah, well, she was in Fatal Games as well.
Yeah, but that movie's a lot better than this one.
Yeah, it's more entertaining, but it's. I think Double Exposure has a more professional edge to it than Fatal Games. But I love Fatal Games, yeah.
Well, apparently she's the director claimed on the commentary that she was he didn't know her, but she said that it would be a trip for her to play a hooker, and she was really up for it. So I was surprised as well, because, like you say, she went on to be an Academy Award winner later on in her career.
What did she win an Academy Award for?
She didn't win. She was nominated for.
I'll have a look at that while you're.
I can't remember what the movie was, but she was nominated. She won the Golden Globe, but she didn't win the Oscar.
The prices that she quoted, Joseph, is that the going rate?
It used to be with your mom.
But she was also, but I didn't realize she was part of the Andy Warhol's The Factory, in the 60s, presumably, so late 60s. So she's part of that counterculture set. So possibly, is why she did it. I don't know, because such a small part, isn't it? And she's very free with her nudity and stuff. Pulling back her blouse to expose her breasts. So it did surprise me. But apparently she was really up for it and was very easy with it and very kind of comfortable doing it.
I just remembered another scene I actually liked. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, maybe I didn't hate this movie, but I did hate it. But another scene I liked is when at the very end, where right before they reveal who the killer is, one of the characters, I think this is the girl, gets stabbed in the stomach. She's like, "Oh my God, thank God it's you." And they don't reveal who it is.
That's very Friday the 13th, wasn't it? The other, talking of the gay character, is that he turns up and it throws it all out the window, because he turns up and he's going, and he's got blood all over his hands. Presumably he's just found Joanna Pettet's character who's been stabbed in the stomach with the ice pick. And then rather than go, she's still alive, because she runs at the end. She's the one that kills BJ, isn't she?
He sits there and kind of convulses a little bit before he's like, "Oh, she's over there and she's dead." Like, if he would have told the cops that, she might have survived. Or she was alive.
Yeah, because she kills the killer.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, just to talk, get into some background now, but before I pass it over to you guys, one thing I did want to say quickly, just because it leads into some of the actresses, the model in the white lace in the swimming pool. I don't know if you recognised her, Gina Keogh, or Keogh. Is it Keogh? Or how do you pronounce that?
I'd say Keogh.
Keogh. Okay. I don't know if you recognise her, but she went on to be, she was also in The Beach Girls from 1982, but she went on to be on The Real Housewives of Orange County as a housewife from 2006 to 2000, and, well, I don't know when it was actually. It says 2022. I don't think she's on it that long, but, or maybe she was. But she appeared in that. So And I'm currently watching The Real Housewives of Orange County, and I'm not going to apologise for it at all. So anyway, that was just an aside, Housewives aside. So I'll pass it over to you guys. Any background? Nathan, what have you got for us?
No.
It's even better with video. So, Joseph, how about you?
Just one thing, and I don't apologize for this. I typically don't like romantic comedies, but Seymour Cassell was in one of my all-time favorite movies, which just
Seymour
so happens...
Castle.
It just so happens to be in a romantic comedy, which is just so happens to be one of my favorite movies. It's called Dream for an Insomniac. It's a very unusual movie where it's half in black and white until someone takes off their glasses, and then it becomes colorful. It's an interesting movie.
Okay. Well, I think Eric prefers the actor Seymour Butts. Don't you, Eric?
As if such one would exist.
No, there's a porn guy named Seymour Butts.
Yes, Justin's friend.
Like the director Bend Over.
Yeah.
So, Eric, what do you have for us?
Yes, Robert Tessier, who plays the bald bar owner in this movie. I recognize him instantly because he's in Star Crash, which is the Luigi Cozzi Star Wars cash-in, which I love. And he's in that covered in metallic face paint because he's from space in the movie. Michael Callan went to appear in at least one film that Nathan and Joseph and myself love. I can't remember if Justin loves it. He's in Chained Heat. And he's also in one that I imagine Nathan probably be the only one who liked, and that's Leprechaun 3.
Oh, I love Leprechaun 3.
I don't think I've seen part 3.
I've only seen the first one, the Jennifer Aniston one. Joanna Pettet, is that how you pronounce her name?
I'm not sure.
She plays Mindy in the film anyway. She was the last person, one of the last people to see Sharon Tate alive. She visited her house on the afternoon of August the 8th, 1969, which was the day that Sharon Tate was killed by the Manson family. And she is actually, her character is played by Rumer Willis in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino movie, and also James Stacy character is in that as well, played by Timothy Oliphant. But this was before James Stacy had his accident. I think he had a motorcycle accident in the early 70s, was it?
Yeah, and his girlfriend died.
Yeah, in 1973. So that's where he lost his left arm and left leg, and his girlfriend was killed.
Eric, I don't know if you're I don't know if you're about to mention this or not, but is James Stacy, is that his name?
Yeah.
Well, he's got a bit of a checkered past, but one thing I found really interesting, and I don't know how true this is, but apparently he tried to commit suicide, and he fell like a really far distance, but something broke his fall and it didn't kill him.
He was leaping off a 1,200-foot cliff in Hawaii, I think. Yeah. And a 45-foot ledge below broke his fall. So it's kind of like what you guys were saying when I was trying to jump out the window that time.
But that was on the first floor, though, Eric, wasn't it?
You just step out the window.
I'm on the 4th floor. It's still not enough, probably, to...
Well, Omar from The Wire survived that. I think you would.
Yeah. He was married to I was going to say horror royalty, but that's exaggerating a bit. He was married to Kim Darby, who was one of the leads in Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. But she also played Deborah Strode in Halloween 6. She's the mother of the family, and she gets killed and her blood splats all over her clean white sheets in the yard that are hanging up to dry. David Young plays Sergeant Buckhold, and when he came on screen, I was like, he looks really familiar. Now, I couldn't find any concrete evidence of this claim, but I'm pretty sure he's the brother of Richard Young, who played Matt in Friday the 13th, Part 5. Matt being the guy who runs the halfway house, and he gets nailed to a tree later in the film. But they do say on the commentary track that David Young did have a famous, had a acting brother as well, and that looked very like him. So I'm assuming that they're brothers. Misty Rowe, who plays Mindy, she was also in Class Reunion Massacre, which is diabolically awful. Sorry, Nathan.
No.
I know you probably...
No, it is not. That is a phenomenal, amazing movie.
You didn't like that movie, Eric?
No.
The one from the 70s?
Class Reunion. Oh, not Class Reunion Massacre. Sorry. National Lampoon's Class Reunion. Sorry.
Oh, Eric.
Sorry, my mistake.
I was sitting here thinking, who was that in Class Reunion Massacre?
No, I love Class Reunion Massacre. Sorry, I've written it wrong in my notes here. It's National
all those
Lampoon's
people
Class
at
Reunion.
home listening or watching and stop clasping their pearls.
You can unclasp your pearls now. She also plays Fanny. Do you find that name funny, Justin? Fanny?
No.
Yeah, he does. He does. Look, he's laughing. She played Fanny in Meatballs Part 2. I've never seen Meatballs Part 2. And she was Maid Marian in the 70s comedy When Things Were Rotten, which used to show a lot on Irish television back in the day.
I've heard that.
And Sally Kirkland was also in Two Evil Eyes. She was in the what's his name? Harvey Keitel portion of Two Evil Eyes, the George Romero and Dario Argento collaboration. And I think that's all I have.
Right, well, thank you. I've got a few bits that you haven't covered. It was shot in early 1981, starting on May the 18th. And according to Cleavon Little, there was an interview with him in the press that I found where he talks about, part of the reason that he said that all the actors got points on the project instead of really big salaries. So I don't. There's the history of this release. The film, apparently, the director wasn't happy. William Byron Hillman wasn't happy with how it was released. So I mentioned it got picked up by Crown International Pictures, who released Don't Answer the Phone from 1980, and also it was released on double bill with that sometimes. As I mentioned, it was also, he was saying it's this kind of prequel, sequel kind of thing. Apparently, it was also, there was some legal reason why it couldn't be a remake. I'm not quite sure exactly why that was. So the release for it was quite sporadic. Apparently, it didn't get a big release because so this is a time where a lot of slasher filmmakers were hoping their picture would be picked up by a major studio. And so that didn't happen with this. So just a couple of other things. Joanna Pettet, you mentioned about the Charles Manson connection, but she was also in a film I haven't seen, which I want to watch, is the Welcome to Arrow Beach, aka Tender Flesh from 1974, with Lawrence Harvey, and I think it's also got that other actress, Meg Foster, I think, is in it as well. She was also in The Evil from 1978, which is the film that famously ends with finding out the devil is actually Victor Bueno, is it? The actor, a sort of big fat actor at the end, is supposed to be the devil. A bit of an anticlimax there, although Eric probably turned on.
I probably would. I need to rewatch The Evil. I do have it on Blu-ray, on DVD somewhere.
Yeah. James Stacy, as you mentioned, he had a kind of a checkered past, and I won't go into some of the not allegations, things that he was sentenced for in the mid-90s. But the director said that he was a very troubled individual, and he never got over the accident and losing both his arm and his leg and his girlfriend, who was apparently the love of his life. And he said that that kind of came through. He said they worked very well with David Callan, and him worked very well. And I think actually some of the best scenes in the movie is their back and forth. It seems very naturalistic, very believable.
Like Sally Sleeves.
Like Sally Sleeves, back and forth, indeed. But he said he was great until 1 p.m. and then he became difficult to work with, and he thought he had multiple personalities. So quite how they got through that whole shoot at the end, I don't know. Pamela Hensley is someone I recognise very much from growing up because she was played Princess Adala in Buck Rogers in the 20th century. Wasn't there? Was it? I always thought, I don't know if it's an urban legend, but is it? What was the other one? The Battlestar Galactica. Was it one of them had Princess Fuckera? Which one was that, Eric?
I don't know.
Do you know Princess Fuckera?
Let me Google it.
She was also in another TV series that I kind of grew up with, is Matt Houston, from 1982 to 1985. So she was also in Rollerball, the James Caan movie from the mid-70s, from 1975, and a film called Doc Savage, which I'm not familiar with. Cleveland Jake Little was possibly best remembered for Blazing Saddles and the Mel Brooks comedy. We talked about Sally Kirkland and Gianna Keogh. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I just got a few, pull up some reviews. Say the film got a very sporadic release in 1982 and possibly into 1983. So as the reviews are probably, as you can probably guess, they're not particularly positive. But I'll just read a couple of them here, some snippets from them. So Ted Maher and the Oregonian in December 8th, 1982, said it was a case of supporting player syndrome. He said that Callan couldn't carry the movie because he was better known as a supporting actor. Said the director had concocted a pseudo-Hitchcock adventure that plays out about a 30-minute story in about 90. He likens it to a Jekyll and Hyde story, which I think is kind of a fair comparison. And he said of him meeting the character, Joanna Pettet's character, he said his manner and patter are slightly less charming than the lizard with trench mouth, but he's co-producer of the movie, so she slurps it right up.
Wow, that sounded naughty.
Yeah.
Yep. This is probably, I would imagine this would be Nathan's least favourite critic. It's called Mike Mayo. Would that be correct, Nathan?
I'm not a big fan of it, I won't lie.
No, exactly. We know you don't like any white stuff in your mouth. And
Justin.
So he said what? I mean, mayonnaise. He said, you couldn't do much worse in film than Double Exposure. He said the film was bad in about as many ways as a movie can be bad. He clearly didn't like the film. He called it cliched, chaotic, pretentious, confusing, and boring. So there you go. And the last one I've got was from Michael Walsh in The Province from 1983, and said Double Exposure has a bad case of the blahs, a late entry in the stalking killer cycle of film. This utterly inept murder mystery threatens to induce a case of terminal yawning in the unsuspecting filmgoer. So I noticed Vinegar Syndrome didn't pull any of those quotes for the back of the of their release. But so anyway, yeah, so that's all I have of Double Exposure. So so what was the consensus on the group, Joseph?
Well, we had a shocking 15 comments for Double Exposure, and here are the top 3. Huge fan of Double Exposure. It's an oddity because it uses a lot of actors mostly known for their TV work. Joanna Pettet, Mike Callan, and James Stacy predominantly, in a somewhat sleazy theatrical. It's unusual but pretty effective, and Callan is fascinating in it. Stacy is a bit of a notorious character in film and TV, although I have some sympathy for him because he was dealt a pretty rough hand in life. Wow. Did they? I don't think that you realize what you just did there. He is played by Timothy Olyphant in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, as Eric mentioned, and the scene where he's leaving the set of Lancer on his motorcycle is a reference to the awful motorbike accident. Again, Eric, like you mentioned, that left him without an arm or a leg. I've just started watching Lancer, but have enjoyed Stacy's TV movie work for a long time. Paperman is great, but I am in love with Joanna Pettet, and I'll watch her in pretty much anything. Interestingly enough, she's also featured in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and is played by Rumor Willis again, Eric. Did you read her feedback? Because that was from Amanda Reyes.
No.
Yeah, Eric's been cribbing off Amanda again.
I did my own research, just like those COVID people.
There is some appeal from the sheer sleaze factor of it all, but this is one of those rare cases where the pacing needed to slow down rather than speed up. It felt like each scene was being raced through so that we could get into the next one without any of them being allowed to breathe properly. New characters are constantly introduced, and whilst they all seem pretty interesting, it just made the fact that they would usually disappear instantly even more frustrating. The killer reveal was of little surprise too, so whilst I did enjoy the movie, it was mostly down to the early 80s aesthetics and different feel created by the mostly older cast. And that was from Simon Logan.
Simon Logan.
I said his name differently for once. Feels like a gender swap version of those 70s films where you're questioning the sanity of the female lead. Interesting slasher from the heyday with a middle-aged cast, inventive kills, plentiful sleaze, and a very entertaining ending, to say the least. And that was from Vason Jorhees.
Oh.
Vason Jorhees.
I like it.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Simon Logan, our friend Amanda Reyes, who, well, we'll be talking to quite soon on a secret project, won't we?
Which Eric is going to get plenty of background from her, aren't you, Eric?
How rude. I did not steal that background from Amanda Reyes.
Amanda, don't share your background with Eric. He'll just take it all, pretend it's his. Right. Well, we're going to do Recently Seen soon. But before we do that, Eric.
Yes.
Here we go.
It's my joke of the week. It's so freaking fantastic.
Why are photographers like Justin Kurzweil so immature? Because they take a while to develop. Justin.
Good one. He's got a pillow with Susie on it.
Yeah.
Trying to smother myself.
Or maybe you should smother yourself.
Oh.
Eric.
Yeah, so there.
Well, thank you for that joke.
I liked it, Eric.
Thank you, Joseph.
Right. Well, anyway, let's move on. So, Recently Seen. So, what have we been watching? I'll start with Nathan.
I watched one recently. It's called Boneface. It's kind of a newer movie. It actually may have been out this year. But it's about this serial killer that's been stalking these different campgrounds. And at the start of the movie, the killer is, hacking up a bunch of counselors, kind of like for Friday the 13th. And I guess for me, it's it starts pretty promising, but what happens is the killer escapes on foot and ends up at this diner, but these cops are on the killer's trail and also end up at this diner. So they know that one of the patrons or employees at that diner is the killer that's been stalking these campgrounds. So it's kind of it becomes less of a slasher, more of a murder mystery, because you're trying to figure out who in the whole group is the killer. It's, I would say the IMDb gives it a 4.6 out of 10. I mean, I would say it's probably a little bit better than that, but it definitely, has its flaws because, I don't know, just the way it starts out with the counselors having a party and the killer shows up with an axe, just seems so much fun. And that's kind of the movies that I love. And then it kind of becomes a totally different film. And it's not a bad film, whatsoever. It's, it has some really fun moments in it. But overall, I would say that don't be expecting a slasher, because you're not really going to get a slasher.
Is it? Can I ask? And I mean this with the greatest respect, but is it a Nathan style picture, or is it has it got a budget behind it?
It's got probably a decent budget and sheen behind it, honestly.
So $50 instead of $25.
No, it looks professionally filmed, I'll say.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nathan. So, anything else?
No, that was the only thing I've seen lately.
Okay. Eric, how about you?
I saw a film that has just come on Now TV that I think you recommended to me last year, Justin. It's called Strange Darling.
Oh, yeah. The one, yeah.
So this is, I suppose, a serial killer movie. It's told in a non-linear fashion. So the title that comes up initially is a story in 6 chapters, and it goes straight into chapter 3, then jumps to chapter 5, and then goes back to chapter 1. So it's kind of, you think it's one film when it starts, and then as it fills in the gaps in the background, you sort of learn it's going somewhere different. I thought it was really good, and it's a taut 90 minutes. It's basically 2 characters sparring against each other, and there's some peripheral characters that pop in and out of the storyline very briefly, but for the most part, it's 2 people, 90 minutes, really lean, really slick, kind of like structured, kind of like Pulp Fiction, I suppose, something like that. Although in Pulp Fiction's case, it was different stories that sort of overlap and have different time periods in them. Whereas in this one, it's just the same 2 characters. It's just you're being told what's going on in a non-linear way. I was really impressed with it. I really, thought it was good fun. And it's violent in places, but it also has that kind of fun Pulp Fiction vibe to it as well, which means it's kind of a breezy watch.
It definitely reminded me of, or kind of reminiscent of the Quentin Tarantino movies, the way the chapters and stuff. It definitely felt like that kind of, that the whole, a bit like the Kill Bill, the different chapters running through it. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's all I've seen this week.
Okay. Well, thank you, Eric. Joseph, how about you?
Nothing.
Okay.
I'm so busy lately.
Well, being the hero behind the scenes with the editing or the Hysteria
very
continues.
much the hero.
I feel like
because none of us can. Well, Justin may have video editing experience, but I certainly don't. And
I have experience. You've seen Voodoo Massacre. I did some editing back in the day.
Yeah.
Imagine Nathan throwing this podcast together with a videotape, 2 VCRs.
and stealing exploding car scenes from other movies. And
it's very important.
So, okay, well, I've just seen one thing, which was the follow-up to Talk to Me, the Australian movie from a couple of years ago called Bring Her Back.
Is it a sequel or just
It's a follow-up. Well, it's a follow-up as in, like, apparently I heard an interview with the directors, the brothers, is it Danny and Michael Pilapu, who said it may be in the same universe, but it's a standalone, it's a different story. Did you see Talk to Me?
Yes.
You did, yeah. Which I thought was really well done. I mean, it's quite scary. And this is the basic premise in this, without giving anything away, is a young girl and her brother, and she's partially sighted. Their dad dies in the beginning, and they go to live with a foster mother, played by Sally Hawkins, who was in The Shape of Water, British actress playing an Australian role as a foster mother. And there's a strange young boy there, basically, the whole story is about, and it's not really spoiling anything, because the whole point of it is trying to bring back some occult ritual to bring back a dead child. So it is really good. I think it's definitely worth seeing. It's not as scary as Talk to Her. It's not as frightening, but it is kind of very extreme in ways that kind of are surprising, but without going into kind of this unwatchable territory. I mean, people might watch some of it through their fingers, but it's very graphic and gory, but also incredibly well acted. Sally Hawkins is incredible in it. And the main kid, the 17-year-old, is played by a British actor called Billy Ace Barrett, who is the paternal grandson of guess who, Eric?
Is it Shakin' Stevens?
It is Shakin' Stevens, yes.
Wow, how did you pull that out of your hat, Eric?
Because Shakin' Stevens' real name is something Barrett, that's all I can remember. And I know we've recently had a disagreement where Justin described Shakin' Stevens as a cunt on this podcast.
And I stand by it, Eric. So I thought that was funny, bit of symmetry going on there. And
yes.
So what are we covering next time on The Hysteria Continues?
It's time for us to go on a wrong turn, part 2.
Is that the one with, what's his name?
Henry Rollins, isn't it?
Yeah, I've not seen it since it came out, so
I can't remember much about it, although I remember being surprised at how gory it was, but that was about it.
Okay, so and we're playing out with, and Eric will love this, it's Toya.
Shakin' Stevens.
It's Susie Red Light, which you'll like this because she calls
she's a whore.
She calls people whores in it, Eric. So it's a song about Eric, or maybe Toya. So we're playing out with that, and
there are other singers than Susie, and I'm complimenting her by considering her singer.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's not. If it was your pick, Eric, you can.
Well, I'm going to play out with Toya next week. Then
is that because she plays one of the backwards hillbillies?
You walked right into that one, Eric.
Okay, well, join us next time for the Sulk Continues, and we'll catch you next time on Hysteria Continues. So thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Say goodbye to the good people.
Bye.
Bye, Nathan.
Bye.